All right, let's dive into something that might just change the way you see, well, everything. We're talking about the work of physicist Hans-Peter Dürr, who actually studied under the legendary Werner Heisenberg. And Dürr's big idea is that for the better part of a century, most of us, and yeah, even a lot of scientists, have been looking at the world all wrong. So, let's get into it.
It really all boils down to this one question. I mean, look around you right now. You probably see a bunch of separate things, right? A screen, a desk, your hands. But is that what's really going on? Dürr asks us to imagine that what we perceive, what we think of as solid reality, isn't the full picture, not by a long shot.
So to help us wrap our heads around why our everyday view might be totally off, Dürr uses this brilliant analogy from another physicist, Sir Arthur Eddington. It's a simple story about a scientist, his net, and the massive danger of confusing your tools with reality itself. Okay, so picture this. A fish scientist, an ichthyologist, goes out on his boat. He throws his net in the water, a net with a 2-inch mesh. He pulls up his catch, studies it, and comes to a big conclusion. There are no sea creatures smaller than 2 inches. And you know, based on what's in his net, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? And here is the absolute kicker. When somebody comes along and says, hey, what about all the smaller fish that slipped right through the holes? He just waves it away. He says, what my net can't catch isn't fish. He has literally defined all of reality by what his specific tool can measure. Everything else? Nah, that's just metaphysics. And that's the whole point, right? We all have a net. Our net is our senses, our way of thinking, our scientific methods that are designed to measure and categorize separate things. Dürr's argument is that, just like that scientist, we've made a colossal mistake. We've assumed that whatever our net can't catch just isn't real. This brings us right to the heart of it all. Because way back in 1925, quantum physics didn't just find a hole in the net, it tore the whole thing to shreds. It showed us a world so bizarre, so completely alien to our assumptions, that it completely rewrote the rules on what matter even is. Before 1925, the world was basically seen as a big, predictable machine made of solid little bits. But then, Heisenberg and his colleagues hit on something incredible. At the most fundamental level of reality, matter isn't material. It's not made of stuff at all. So this just created two totally different ways of seeing the world. You have the old view, reality, which comes from the Latin word for thing, which saw the universe as a giant clock. But this new view, which Dürr calls Wirklichkeit, isn't about things. It's about connections. It's not about what exists, but what happens. Let's really dig into this word, Wirklichkeit. It's a German word that basically means a reality that isn't made of substance. It's this indivisible, immaterial web of relationships. It doesn't decide what will happen, only the probabilities of what could happen. It's a world of pure potential that kind of gives birth to the world of things that we see. So let's just recap, because these ideas are wild. 1. Matter is just a web of relationships. 2. Nothing is ever truly separate from its context. 3. The universe isn't some predictable machine. And 4. Everything is fundamentally open, a world of pure potential. This is the new picture quantum physics paints for us. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Okay, this is some weird, fascinating stuff for tiny little particles, but what on earth does it have to do with me living my life? Well, according to Dürr, it has absolutely everything to do with it. See, we have this common assumption that all this quantum weirdness stays locked away in the micro world, that it all just kind of averages out and vanishes by the time it gets to our scale. Dürr says that's a huge misunderstanding, especially when you start talking about living things. So how does this happen? Well, think of it like this. When a system is stable and balanced, it's true, the quantum effects tend to get smoothed over. But in moments of instability and change, which pretty much defines all of life, right? That instability acts like a giant amplifier. It cranks up the volume, allowing those immaterial, information-rich connections from the quantum world to break through and have a real effect, right here in our world. So if this is true, this isn't just a change in physics anymore. This demands a massive shift in our whole philosophy. It forces us to completely rethink our place in the universe and what it even means to know something. Dürr says it best himself. Once you grasp that reality is this fundamentally ungraspable web, it forces you to be modest. Science can't know everything. Our little net is never going to catch the whole ocean. The best we can do is speak in metaphors and analogies about this deeper reality.
And another thing this does, it completely dissolves that old ancient split between mind and matter, or us and nature. The old way of thinking put humanity on a pedestal, separate from and superior to nature. But in this new view, we're not separate observers at all. We are a fundamental, inseparable part of this giant connected web.
And what's really fascinating here is that this new knowledge from quantum physics, it's not actually new at all. It's really a scientific confirmation of this idea of omni-connectedness that you can find in ancient cultures and wisdom traditions all over the world going back thousands of years.
So what does it actually mean to live with this understanding every day? This is where modern science and ancient wisdom really start to converge in a powerful way.
Dürr suggests that this underlying connection actually explains that deep feeling we have, that natural tendency to want to cooperate, to contribute our skills to something bigger than ourselves. It's not just a nice thought. It might be built into the very fabric of reality.
And then you see this. Thousands of years ago, mystical texts like the Bhagavad Gita were saying the exact same thing, that one, single, indivisible unity shows up to us as all these countless separate beings. It's like science is just now catching up to this incredibly ancient insight.
The practical consequences of thinking this way are just immense. I mean, if the future isn't set in stone, if it's a realm of pure potential, then we can help create it. It gives us real confidence that things can change. It totally reframes selfish behavior as self-damage because you can't hurt one part of the web without hurting yourself. And it calls us to see our deep, fundamental kinship with all of nature.
Which leaves us with one final big thought to chew on. If the person next to you, the tree outside your window, the stars in the night sky, if none of it is truly separate, but it's all just different expressions of one single underlying web of connection, how does that change everything?